Hello, subscribe to the channel, like and share this video with your friends.
Jeepers.
Wonderful.
So we got Bug. Now let's see if we can get... Stage is starting a little late today. We had some technical issues. But we got 3 out of the 4. We just have to see if Soul can come back up now.
Yeah, I think this will do it.
Let's
Just
hope.
rebooting it all.
Hello.
Oh, we did it.
Hey,
I had to hard reset my phone.
Well, and I hard reset Stage.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So it was Charmaine's idea. I can't
I
take
was-
credit. 'cause-
When I was down in the audience, I could hear you guys, but as soon as I came back up to
Talk. It was
okay.
cutting out. Something worked, so that's good. Sorry, guys. It'll be a little late here, but we got everything going. So, you guys ready to start?
I think so.
Yes.
Everybody in the audience can hear all of us? Yes,
That's
all
it.
clear. Perfect.
All right,
So I
cool.
think we're good.
All right, thanks, guys. Sorry about that. We do want to welcome you all to another Sunday Live stage. We're going to go into quite a few different topics because there's a very worthy news cycle going on with the updates that have already gone into effect and the ones that are coming up on the 19th. If you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate hitting the raise hand icon, and we will bring you up on stage to discuss whatever questions and issues you'd like to talk about. Also, feel free to chat away in the live chat channel so we can answer those if you're a little shy to come up on stage. But don't forget to leave your live IDs in the live ID channel so we can have the fairies send you guys all a nice little reward for participating and joining us on stage today. And for those of you that may not or gain some information and may not have had your friends able to attend stage today, we do have a YouTube channel that is available for you to review the information that we've gone over on stage today. So feel free to share that with whoever you want. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nim to begin the discussions today.
Good morning, everybody. Now that we have the technical side of all things figured out, I thought it would be a good place to start to review the last update, not the one they just announced, but the previous update that has already been in effect, and just kind of do a quick overview on what we're seeing, because we've now entered the season and there was a few things in that update that were new for the seasons we were going into. The first one was the cell evolution cap, which increased to 70. Now that I personally haven't seen it, it is out of my reach, so it's not so much for the average player or free to play. I don't know if anyone else here has seen the cell level increase to 70. Yes, no?
Negative. Go straight.
So not only out of reach for me, but out of reach for all of us currently. Okay, so we'll move on to some of the other season or things. Yeah, let's just jump right into the season things that we'll see. So I haven't reached the healing pool cap. So it was a season optimization. During the season, the common healing pools capacity for injured ants is increased to unlimited. I don't think fighting has started for anybody, so I don't think anyone would have maxed out their healing pools in any way, shape, or form yet. I think we're all looking forward to it, but we're not there yet. So that hasn't really affected anybody. But I think the one we are seeing is optimize the occupation logic for soldier ant colonies. When the max number of occupied soldier ant colonies has been reached, if you continue to occupy soldier ant colonies, occupying will automatically abandon the corresponding number of the lowest level in the longest occupied soldier ant colonies. Oh my God, that is a tongue twister. And I know that you guys all had a little bit of a discussion about the node mechanics and sort of things to look out for when it came to just occupying over and over again, because I think that it's still important, from what I took from your discussion, it's still important to be aware of where your nodes are being released. So in my case, like, I'm not interested in wasting too many teleports around collecting nodes. So I have to make sure that I'm not releasing nodes in, say, my home area that I plan on upgrading later. And I don't know what the rest of you think about this and some of the conversation around it.
I have to say it's a great update. First of all, like I found it way easier finding nodes. Well, not way easier finding nodes, because a lot of the high level ones have still already been taken, but just way easier to upgrade your nodes and automatically have one drop off. And I haven't ran into any problems that could arise where the one that's dropping off might be in your home zone, which might not be ideal for defending it later. Like, it's a lot easier to defend a colony in your home zone.
Mm-hmm.
But right now I haven't had that problem since all the colonies are in my home zone. So
You know, the
Well, I
one
have
thing that I didn't test, but I agree with Flappy here that it's the best feature when switching to 11 nodes, because, you know, I would have to like release so many and then port around and grab others. So I love the fact that I didn't have to do that. But what I didn't test was, I like to maintain a ratio of so many shooter nodes, so many guardian nodes. And for all you carrier players out there, I'm very sorry, but carrier are at the bottom of my choice of keeping them. So, but I was wondering if like it releases node for node, or like type of node, or if it just takes the lowest one and replaces it. So you know, if you like to maintain a ratio of so many of one type versus another, I don't know if it's that intricate, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, is it going to be dropping off a level 9 shooter node when I grab level 11 guardian node, even if I have other guardian nodes in there, but I didn't grab them earlier? Because to me, it seems like it's just based on the last one that you got, right? So it doesn't correlate to troop type versus the one it's releasing. Lowest and oldest. Yep, that's what I took it for. So
I
Yeah, I
thought it
would
was
say
a
that.
good discussion to have, because it's like something that people may not be thinking about, like where the nodes are located. And if in your case, you're looking at keeping a percentage of guardian versus shooter, if you're not careful, you could lose that ratio or lose nodes in your home zone. Like, while I think it's a great, like, it was awesome when doing my level 11s, I'm still contained to my home area, so it's not something I'm super concerned about. But for future reference, like, I will not, like, I would much rather keep a 10 in my home area than grab an 11 in an area where I might have to worry about defending it, if that makes sense.
yeah, and the thing for me was, like, I was thinking a little bit differently. Like, I would rather keep a 10 shooter and then grab an 11 guardian. So that's like, in those cases where you're thinking like that, then you do have to kind of still manually release and grab, you know, if you want to maintain a ratio as well.
Well, and Victoria just said it tells you what colony it will replace if you don't turn off the warning. But that's, I mean, I think something we've run into a few times is not all of us are really good at reading the fine print. So it's kind of good to have the discussion so that you might pay a little more attention to some of the fine print, because I know that's something I run into and then have buyer's remorse.
Yeah, I actually am the type that every time that pops up, I click, don't show me again.
Same. But does anybody
cool.
have anything to add?
Personally, I want my nodes released in the home zone, because then I may have the opportunity to pick them up later, as compared to the shared zone. Then someone from another alliance in my camp can snatch that up, and I can't get it back later. I mean, the same thing could happen with my alliance mates, but at least my alliance mates have it, you know. But maybe they won't find it, and I'll pick it up quick enough because I just got another 2 nodes because my honor went up or something like that. I can bookmark it and go back to it, there's less of a chance of it getting snagged because you have 300 players looking for nodes in an area, which is the shared area, versus 100 players looking for nodes in an area, which is your own alliance's area. So I'd rather it be released there where there's less people looking around for it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so it's just a bit of pre-planning because I know, like, depending on what event you're in, like where I am currently, we only have access to our home area for nodes. Yet in some other events, and depending on where you are, like if you're red team or blue team, it can make a difference. But yeah, it was just something I found interesting to focus on because you just have to do a little more pre-planning.
I was going to ask you guys this question because it's kind of a topic that can be seen both ways. So our team is very active and we are on red team, right? So there are 3 clash areas and the tree area that you can grab nodes in. So when Friday rolled around and everyone got SXIs, the rush to grab the 11 nodes was on, right? So everyone was rushing to grab them. Now, is it morally acceptable to go into the starting territory of your campmate to take 11 nodes when all the rest of the 11 nodes are gone? Or is that a taboo thing to do?
You mean a different alliance in your camp?
Yeah, like if you're red team on Vast Jungle, for example, right? Both like the 2 red, like we have 2 in red and 3 in blue, right? So, you know, you each get your starting territory, but you know, like in our case, we purposely take each other's wonder that's in their area because it allows both teams to have neutral porting ability over the home territory of the other team. So my question is it morally acceptable to go into your campmates and grab up as many high-level nodes as possible, or is that something that you shouldn't do? Let their team grab their home area. Their team should let your home team grab their home area, and then the rest of the neutral areas are.
I feel like if
maybe
it's,
go ahead,
a few
Jake.
hours after the season 11 soldiers have been out, then those are free. But if it's like an hour after, maybe you should still let your camp have a chance to get them.
I have a little bit of a nuanced opinion on it. I think with the 11 nodes, you shouldn't touch your campmates' territory. But then when it gets down to like, you know, the bottom of the barrel and you're like, man, I can't even find like a level 8, and then your campmates have all these level 9s just sitting there. There's, in my case, I can't take them because we just have an agreement. We don't take nodes in each other's territories. And it's a little frustrating because I'm like, well, they're not using them for days and days. And at that point, I find it acceptable. But prior to that, I don't find it cool to snag up your alliance mates nodes just because there's a set number. So like, you know, what if somebody's like at work, they have an emergency, they can't hop on at reset when they're all around, and then they, like, one guy literally left our Discord because he like had just gotten off work and couldn't find any 11 nodes. He was so upset. And so some people can get really upset, you know, because they don't have the opportunity to snag some of those up.
I find it quite funny because like the difference between a 10 and an 11 is like 4 ants per hour, right? When you're talking hundreds of thousands of ants that you need, and you're only getting like 4 ants per hour. I mean, I know it adds up, but really like the most nodes you could get by now on event would get you like maybe 100 if you were if you bought all the resin packs and did everything right. I mean, I don't think you can get more than 100 right now, right? At this point in the season. Anyone know?
I think so.
I'm at 92 and I'm pretty sure I'm the highest.
Okay,
in the game.
I'm at 94, but I don't spend present. I save it for Monday, right? So I'm not trying to hit buildings to get any higher, especially since we don't have access to anything, and all the 11 nodes are taken in the entire areas, so it doesn't even matter. But I would assume 100 would be the max that anyone could be at right now. But back to your point of not taking nodes in the other area, in your teammates' area, to me, like, I see the reasoning that you have, but it's debatable to me because, like, for me, it seems that, like, anyone that's chasing the nodes to get their honor up or anything typically is going to be someone that's going to be super active in the fighting. So the question becomes, in whose hands are those nodes better for? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I was going to say
I see where you're
that
going.
was sort of what I was going to say for my answer when it came to when it comes to nodes, because it depends on because we're talking to a broad range of audience where, like, there are alliances out there that can't not everyone can take nodes and all of that stuff, so it really depends on your team setup. And I've been involved in seasons where I can see 10s and 11s that never get touched the entire event in the neighboring like teams zones, and I'm all for making sure the people who are going to be our front line of facing anything, optimizing those types of players. You know what I mean? Get them to the nodes that are going to get them the leveled up to the powers that they needed to their 40k, because they're going to be the strongest frontline kind of defense on whatever happens next. So yeah, it's like if there's nodes that have been sitting there for a lot of the event, you should be able to, I think, take them, especially if you can.
Lulu's comment here, there are two types of players, some that optimize the team utility and others that want competition within the team.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like more nuance to that, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
the ultra competitive players that are trying to like get top honor and do all this other stuff, those are also typically the players that are ultra competitive when it comes to fighting. So for them to have the most seasoned troops is beneficial to the entire team for the overall goal of winning the event. So
Mm-hmm.
it is like, that's why I posed the question: is it morally acceptable to take higher level nodes in a campmate's area, and should teams look at it that way, or should they look at it like, no, this is mine, you have yours, and I know that I'm sure a lot of teams do discuss that, prior to in their negotiations and like how they handle stuff, and like the move that I told you that we did in this vast jungle, the teams that I've been on have always done it, right? It's just like a strategic advantage. You automatically get free port throughout your entire home area. So it is advantageous to give the home wonder in your area to your campmate, and it's advantageous for them to give their wonder to you, so that way both teams can neutrally port. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but then it poses the problem with the nodes, because now every player can port right next to a node in every area. So I don't know how much of a factor that plays in animosity. You obviously want to work together with your campmate as much as possible, because you want to, especially in a vast jungle where you're the defending red camp, because, you want them to be as active as possible to ward off the other team, and you don't want to create animosity within the camp. So I was just curious. I posed the question because I've played it both ways, where like a campmate and our team has said, home area nodes are for us, and but then it gets complicated too, because you allowed them to march into your home area, and their square is now taking an 11 node that's within the territory, and if they can't take it, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
That's what I was about to just add on to that. So obviously this might change if your ally has built in to take the wonder or something, and their territory is blocking a bunch of nodes. Like then of course they should be able to take them, or else they'd be wasted, or they'd have to delete a bunch of towers.
exactly. So, but who knows?
I mean, it's a good question.
Yeah, I just
It's a
I mean,
very
there's
good
no right
question.
answer, right? It's just a matter of opinion and how people look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I
it
play with a
depends
very
on. Go ahead, Bud.
sorry. I play with a very international team, so people from all over the world are on it, sleeping at different times. We're working at different times, so it may not be convenient or it may be impossible for them to jump on. And the 11 nodes in my season were gone in 8 minutes. So if they're sleeping during that 8-minute period, it's not really fair to them. Just because it happens to be the time that they were released, like, what are you going to do? Not sleep to get nodes? I mean, I guess some people do that, but that would make it a little stressful.
I'm with you on it, man. I'm telling you, like the team I'm currently on is super active, super strong at reset. Freaking, I honestly think within the 10 minutes, every 11 node was gone in the entire red territory of our camp. I mean, it was crazy. I was watching all these players just porting around, grabbing nodes. I mean, I blew all my stamina grabbing nodes. So that way, like Nim said, because I don't want to be blowing teleports in a neutral, in an area where it's going to cost me teleports to get closer to a node.
Yeah, our alliance calls it the purge.
I mean, it's not like I was sitting on a node before the turnover at reset. I was ready to go, and like Soul said, I was I drained I couldn't get another single node. I drained everything within that first 10 minutes. But I also too think I had made a comment of I feel like the 1 to 6 nodes should, in the higher strength seasons, should just not exist and be replaced with 8s, 9s, 10s.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Me personally, I can take level 9 nodes from landing on the event. Only guardians, not shooters, but I can take level 9 nodes in a vast jungle. Okay. We actually have a player on our team, not from the RIP, but could take level 10 nodes before the SXIs were released. Okay. So that,
Ouch.
I mean, so your point of these 1 through 6s or 1 through 5s are kind of a total waste in a higher level event. I agree 100%. I mean, but I think if they changed the terms of doing that, they would maybe even have to change the level of honor to get to those boosts in fungi. Maybe they'd have to make it 50,000, right? Because so many more players would be able to hit that. So there is, it's kind of a catch-22, on the overall playing of the game.
Yeah.
There are enough nodes on the map.
It certainly doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. Because
Slappy, if that is true, then I would like to see that fairy go and play in an event with us.
I'd like to see that too. Okay. All right. And so I think we've covered the nodes and the conversation we had around that. There were a few to touch on that aren't going to affect us yet until the end of season, but the season savings, which will be the 50% healing speed up return, which I think is great. I can't wait to see, because I plan on taking full advantage of the healing speed ups I have. So I'd like them back. And let's see, the PvP battle report sharing within season. So again,
Well,
we'll have.
let's cover the healing
Okay.
recovery on the nodes. Okay, so this is going to be quite an interesting and controversial topic. So I'm going to break a little bit of etiquette here on stage. So we typically don't talk about other games, but in this case, it is directly related, as a couple of the other updates that are coming with another game by the same manufacturer of developer of this game. So currently, that feature with the 50% return of healing speed ups is implemented in another game that Star Union plays, and it has been for quite a while. So the curiosity I'm going to have with that implementation is, in the other game, there is no ability to farm speed ups like most of us do. So when we get back to server and see if the return of healing speed ups from the battles for the squirters is still implemented or not, is going to make it very important for you guys to realize that blowing vast amounts of speed heals, we may not be getting returns like we did before. So keep that in mind as you're playing in these events, because in the other game, you cannot do that. Okay. So this is something that has been in that game since the beginning. But if now that it's being implemented in Ants, the big fear that I have is that we may not be able to farm speed heals like most of us are doing currently in order to maintain those speed heals. So let's see how it plays out, I guess, when we get back to server. But keep that in mind, especially in the first week back that you guys go for doing that.
I see Conic with his hand up, so I'm going to invite him up.
Okay, Gus, I'm not saying we can't. I don't know, okay? But what I'm trying to tell you is that as you guys, I'll even name the game. It's not a big deal. It's another Star Union game, but Beast Lords is currently, or has been for at least a year, they've been able to, they do get a 50% return on the speed heals, okay, after their season event. But there is no ability, they do not get a return of speed heals when they farm whatever the squirter version is on Beast Lords. So Beast Lords is younger, Ants has been out longer, but there are certain differences when it comes to gameplay in that game versus Ants. Okay, so even though they're very similar in a lot of ways and they're both developed by the same developer and same company, there are differences. And a lot of the stuff that is implemented in Beast Lords does eventually come to Ants. So I don't know. I'm just telling you that Beast Lords has always had the 50% return after an event. That's not something that has ever been implemented in Ants. But also, if you take that fact that you did get the 50% return, and now that it's being implemented in Ants, there may also be a change when it comes to the ability to farm speed heals. So just be aware of that. Iconic.
And I think that's
You all right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong in that potential assumption?
I mean, I'm assuming you're just being cautious if it does affect that. But personally, I do like it because that way I get to be more lazy. Just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be nice not have to farm speed heals, but you know, I'm just warning people to be cautious because like sometimes these things change, and so you know, make sure that it has not yet before you go all in and blow a bunch of speed heals and not get any return.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not so cynical in that, because if you think about the gathering update, how you don't have to gather as long. I think that relieved a lot of people's, stress around, oh my gosh, I have to gather for so long if I don't change my class, to culty, from raider to culty. That was just a legit nice thing they did. And I think this is going to be the same thing. Just, they're trying to help us out so we don't have to spend, 16 hours on a Friday to farm speed ups. I don't think they're going to retroactive give us a benefit and then give us a detriment to counterbalance that. Because, they're often giving us nice things like, upgrades to the gathering and so forth. So my vote's gonna be for they're gonna keep it the way it is.
I hope so. I really
Same.
do.
Yeah, it would be nice to still be able to gain some from hitting the squirters, but also not have to do it as much from keeping 50% after the season. That would be beautiful.
That would be beautiful. I would love it.
Same.
So go ahead, Nim. What else?
I was just seeing if anyone had anything else to add, because it was such a good discussion, because it's like, that's just not I hadn't thought of that. But
Yeah, I like to bring in the devil's advocate a little bit here when I see some of these updates that go into play. So
I mean, and fair.
I'm not trying to scare anyone out there. I'm just saying be careful until we find out whether or not that change was implemented or not. Just be cautious.
Okay, so we ended on the optimized PvP battle report sharing method within season. So now supporting sharing in zone chat. I haven't shared anything because I haven't had any battle reports. So we'll see when that happens.
Yeah. And
so I think
I like the @ feature. That also has been in the other game that I was discussing. So during chat, being able to @ a certain player, most players now cut and paste like how things get lost in chat. But being able to add that @ feature is going to be a huge improvement. It's very popular in the other game.
Yeah, so we're moving into we just finished reviewing the update that has been implemented, and we just got announced the newest update that hasn't been implemented yet, but is coming, I think, after reset today. I don't know, but it hasn't come yet. And that is where the newest content is the @ feature that you were talking about, where instead of having to copy paste, you no longer and paste a comment to reply to someone, you can now @ them and reply directly, which I think is a super great feature.
Yes.
I think it'll also confusion, because chat can move very quickly and people don't always copy paste, and they just make an assumption and that someone is reading through, and suddenly someone new comes along and is like, you're insulting me, and they're like, no, I was just commenting on so it can avoid some of that stuff.
Exactly.
So yeah, I love that new feature. Can't wait to see it implemented. Now we go into the newest insect buddy, Lime Swallowtail, which will be coming with this new update. So I think that's pretty cool, because it will have a new so you'll be seeing a new selective buddy fragment chest in the pack shop. You're going to be able to see a new buddy bond with the new insect buddy that's coming. We don't know yet what the features of it are. At least I haven't found anywhere that it kind of shows what its characteristics are, but we'll see after the update. I think that's great. I love new content when it comes to the new buddy category. And I think what I was really liking in this update, and I think it's super fun to talk about, there's two things. Because I kind of snuck this in underneath the new buddy coming up, which we'll cover more next stage when we have more details on it. but it was the other category being so on servers where season sign-up periods have been open before, when Ladybug Habitat reaches level 19, special items will be added to the others category each time the store refreshes. So I think it's super cool that there'll be some, I don't know what these special items are, and I don't know if any of you guys have.
Well, they did
Any-
add healing speed ups to it
Already,
So-
yes.
already. So that's gonna be something nice, I hope. You know, that the healing speed ups were a nice addition.
Hmm. I know. So I was like, what else could there be that you think? I mean, I don't know.
I would think
Meteorite
like
stuff?
maybe like tower snail shells or
Ooh.
Oh,
know,
that would be
like-
cool.
awakening protein like randomly sprinkled in.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So I mean, I love that. Like I mean, we're obviously not going to know until it gets implemented, but that's
I'm
pretty
looking forward
cool.
to- You know what would be even cooler would be, which I think might be an overreach, but like now that they're coming out with a newer insect buddy, maybe like tortoise
Ooh,
beetle,
maybe.
fragments, or even common blue, possibly. You know, like maybe they leave it where the purchasable items from the VIP store now have like a diamond option.
Would be
Ooh.
so cool.
That would be cool.
Or
So
even
I'm
maybe
looking forward.
maybe even the purple ones that, you know, to get more of those, because currently the purple ones you can really only get from hatching.
Hmm.
So maybe to get those up so that way you can max out the buddy. What levels are your guys' purple, by the way?
Ooh, I don't know. I'd have to go
Buddy.
look. I'm really
Six is
slow at
about
it.
halfway
I think
through.
Mine are
Let me
at
see.
6.
Yeah, mine are. I have one at 6, one almost. Like I need one more point of the star to get to 6.
Good question. I should pay more attention again.
Trapezoidal is thinking just like me, even to get purple, even if they were to add purple. So that's cool. You know, there. I was chatting with one of my friends about that because he actually is, I think, a couple points ahead of me on those purples, but he takes it to the next level. If he doesn't, if he's not getting the one that he wants, he'll destroy the hatch and rehatch another one.
Oh,
You know, so like you can gain a few extra fragments of purple ones you're chasing if you do that, but you know, that takes a lot of dedication to sit there and watch. Okay, big Stu does the same thing, so he might be a little bit further along. So there are definitely players that could be. Yeah, look, Trapezoidal says a max of 3 extra each week. So
I wander off way too much to do that.
I mean, I love it when I see players go to that extreme on it. I mean, it's impressive.
I unhatch every week and rehatch. I like been doing it forever just to get more gold insects.
Really.
Sorry.
See, you know,
Yeah.
the thing is, when you do it for a long time, it becomes like routine, right?
Yeah,
So,
Oh,
definitely.
I'm excited to talk about this next function of recycling upgraded items for max level buildings and options to use excess fragments from activated skins. I think this is so good. But also, I think Soul had an opinion about it.
well, I mean, you guys say that I'm very pessimistic, so I will share my probably very unpopular feeling on this. And That is, could you imagine if they had us, destroy or trade all of this material that we've gained for years now for those players that have 25 level hills that are fully maxed on buildings, and all of a sudden they increase the queen level? That would be
Evil?
would be very evil.
It's making me laugh because I'm like, I didn't think of that, but
3 months from now, we're bringing Queen 30, and everyone had already recycled all of their Glimmery Leaf and mushroom.
Oh no, but I already recycled it.
yeah, I'm like, I'm going to hesitate to use that function now because of you, Soul. I'm going to be like, I mean, it's been sitting there for this long. Like, what is the worst that happens if it sits here for just a little bit longer?
Do you know what created my pessimism when it comes to these updates that seem like so perfect? Everything we've been asking for was when the season 1 ants were released into the before they released the season 1 ants into the general Supreme Hatch pool. Okay. They had a 10 for 9 event, right? And I always save my orange eggs and hatch them during the 10 for 9. So of course they bring out the 10 for 9, and it was a little bit delayed too. Like normally it comes out every 3 months or so. And I think it was at like the 4-month mark. They brought it out, and I blew through 500 or 600 orange eggs. And the very next week, okay, they announced that season ants were going into the Supreme pool. And I was like, I just blew all my orange eggs going after, to gain the little bit extra when I could use some of these season 1 ants. I'm like, this is bonkers. And so had to wait. And I'm like, oh God, for the next one.
Well, and it's even what Flappy said. It's like, if it gives just meat, then, so, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Yes, you can trade these items in, but what are you gaining? Is it worth the trade in to hold on to? Is it like, what difference is it going to make to your hill? Because we still don't know all those details yet. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, now, Soul, if I wake up like tomorrow and they announce Queen 30 after I get rid of all that stuff, I would not be surprised.
Oh.
I'm going to be like, dang, I should have listened to Soul.
Well, whatever. Like, I mean, honestly, the game has progressed, and I'm absolutely loving this update because it addresses quite a few different items that us as players have been very vocal about and wanting to see changed. So it is definitely an indication that the devs are listening and turning around and implementing these into the game. So I think overall it is going to be a much more positive gaming experience. That the one that Nim just posted is probably the most asked for item that is in people's inventory that they feel just totally burned by, right? Having 30 or some players have 80 of those skins for that night. Yeah, the fragments for the night patron. So that was a big burn for players, at least in the older servers. I don't even know if it affected me, really. I did not have those fragments in my inventory, so I don't think that particular event affected me. But it definitely did in everybody that's in Group 1. And maybe some players in Group 2, depending on what server they were born into.
Well, and Flappy brought up the point that I was going to make, and we had discussed earlier. The way that I understood it is that you have to have the Night Patron skin. So you have to own the skin for those fragments to become, like, to be able to make those fragments. So if you don't already own the skin, then you're going to still have to wait until you can get it from the shop with the twigs. Otherwise, they will sit in your inventory. So that's the way I read it as well.
That's how I read it too. So you have to own the skin before you can convert the fragments into. But you would gain 100 fragments if you grabbed it from the branch store.
Mm-hmm. So you would, whatever was sitting in your inventory would still be usable once you own the skin.
But the good news is, like, you know, those fragments are on your account, so you know you have time. You can, you know. Like from the, you know, you have to get 5 branches, or is it 10 branches?
10. It's 10 branches.
To get a skin, but you know, you could do it fairly cost effective by buying one 99-cent pack a day for 5 days or whatever during the event.
Less than $50 over 10 weeks.
But here's the thing, okay? You like those players now that know that this is going into effect, that Night Patron skin, you know, the players that are holding those fragments, that Night Patron skin should be the one you go after, because that's the one that would allow you to recycle that into a general fragment that you can put towards your skin star.
Okay.
Like groundhog skins.
Yeah. Because I think the groundhog skin worked that way as well. Like you couldn't use the fragments, but I'm unsure because it's been a while since I've had mine. So I'm going to move us along because we'll probably have more discussion once those functions have been added in game and a discussion around it. But I want to make sure we finish the review because there's a couple other items in this update that are intriguing. Which is the next one, which is the add the new insect medal, insect heroes, which can be unlocked by owning one of the following insects: striped love, ghost mantis, and lava scorpion. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I Googled lava scorpion pretty quickly because I was like, I know that I don't pay attention to a lot of things. But I am pretty sure I've never seen lava scorpion in the game anywhere before. And what I found interesting, and again, this is all just me making guesses, but the lava scorpion isn't actually a real insect. It's an insect that's related to a few games. So I'm like, is this a collab insect? Like, what is that? Or is it just that it's the cool enough insect that they think that, because I'm assuming it's going to be carrier. Carriers deserve a cool looking insect because some of their other ones are not so great.
Yes, we do.
So thoughts, feelings?
Man,
Well,
I cannot wait.
Go as far as a collab.
Yeah, I know. I was just I was an overreach, I'm sure.
The only reason I say that is they're very good at you know, like dropping hints for collabs before they come out and then forcing us as stage team members to try to figure out which one it is. You know, with our for Lucas, didn't we have to like cut and paste pictures and bring images of like all these different
yeah, we were full CSI for that one.
Oh yeah, we were like, oh, hold on, taking Photoshop and matching it up and being like, oh, you know what, that does look kind of like the sidekick for Lucas. You know, maybe. You know. Oh, yep, 100%. Look at the shadow.
Yeah, no, we had a lot of fun with that. So, but I mean, it's interesting that they've dropped the name of an insect this early on. So, yeah, I know you're a carrier, Jake. What do you think?
Oh, I'm very excited to see how it looks, and of course see the skills on it, because all those
Yeah.
Synergy 3 insects are very, very good. Should even out the playing field a little bit.
Oreo's a carrier, looks like, too.
Carrier
And you,
here
Bug?
as well. I'm thinking they're gonna come out with it on Monday, because they did something similar with an update and dropped the bicolor hint that was coming out. I mean, I'm really, really hoping for a Monday. If I have to wait another week, I'm gonna just be, I don't know, on the edge of my seat all week.
I mean, I had a discussion yesterday with one of my friends that I think that thing's going to be super good. Super duper good.
I think so too, and it has to be to compete with the Ghost Mantis. I mean, that thing is an absolute monster.
Well, I think it's exciting because it'll give us lots of stuff to talk about next stage if it does happen to show up this week. I'm always looking for talking points, so bring it. I think that'll be
Yeah,
good.
it will be interesting to see how the new insect pairs with the new carrier ant that came out, the honey pot ant. There's a big focus on like the debuffs, like poisons and stuff like that. So we'll see if this insect kind of coincides with that.
Fair.
Yeah, Flappy's got a good point. They're going to bring that insect out right when the intense fighting happens.
Our
I hope
alliance
that
has a lot of carriers, so
Needs to have a magnifying glass instead of a stinger. So that, yeah, instead of the stinger, it's going to have a magnifying glass and it's going to burn, like Conic said.
Oh, it took me a minute, but I got that finally. I was a little slow on that one, but
Magnifying
okay.
burning.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see, and we will definitely dig deeper into it. I mean, we don't have details or anything other than the name, so there's lots to speculate about. And I look forward to the discussion when we do have more of that information. But I do want to cover a few more things before we sign off for the week. But we did also get some new content in game, which was the new insect skin, the long-tail chinchilla, with the sharp teeth piercing effect of plus 4%. I know that you had a lot to say about it, Bug, so I thought I'd pick your brain because you're more of a technical player than I am.
Oh man, yeah, I was trying to rack my brain around, like, does this work? Is this piercing effect? Is this like the wasp? Is this like, what's going on? And I even asked the fairy, and she gave me some technical jargon, but it's piercing. Just happens every time, 4%. Plus, it gives you a 5% Soldier Ant health buff. So, as a carrier player, I need that extra, attack or strength or damage, plus the health. So, I had never purchased the skin before, and this is my first one. Out of all the skins, I was like, nah. But this one, I was like, it fits perfectly for my setup, and it farts rainbows. So that's kind of nice.
I had to
Sorry,
laugh.
I've got to jump in at the farts, rainbows.
Yeah. That's a nice entrance, Fox.
Yeah, I was waiting for it because if you didn't say it, I was coming straight up to say it. Sorry about that, guys. Obviously, I just thought I'd jump in and say hello. But yeah, I know every carrier needs that. We're always talking about finding extra health and whatever else, but unfortunately, I didn't get it because it farted rainbows. So there we go.
I do like the way when it hits, it punches so intensely. It looks like it would knock you out compared to the other skins that look like they're just lobbing hits at another fortress or something like that. This one looks like it's really taking a whack at something. If you look, watch it.
Yeah, is
Well, I've
anyone got
not seen
animation
it.
in the chat?
I
sorry,
haven't
say
seen
that
it in
again?
action. And animation. Do you have that? Like, do you have a little video clip of that?
Oh, I can pull one up real quick. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we don't. I don't have it. I didn't get the skin, so it wasn't on my list. But
The other thing is it's adorable. I mean, you can't deny that.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, it's cute. Yeah.
I mean, I do like pretty things, but
Rainbow,
Mhm.
rainbow starting.
I'm trying to follow his
Just jump
chat.
on quickly on what Soul said about those healing speed ups about the other game.
Hmm.
That I know that we've got a lot of crossover, and I know genuinely there is, and there's I think there's two. It's not just the one, is it? Because they take ideas from. There's another one that we won't mention. So there is a little bit of crossover, and it's good that you're kind of in the other one, the Beast one, to be able to kind of share that kind of knowledge. But I kind of got to be on Bug's side on this. I kind of think the last, maybe couple of months now, we've been seeing a hell of a lot of support for the kind of low end spend, the free to play side, all these little kind of really nice improvements that aren't actually earning Star Union anything. They've all been done for a really good reason. Can't see any benefit of all of the other little improvements, like Bug says. They've all been great improvements for no real benefit to kind of the game side of things. So I'm fingers crossed on the bug fence. Absolutely. I know what you're saying, Soul. It's going to be be cautious. Absolutely. But I've got to side with Bug on having all the faith in the world that they're just there looking after the guys that, have been screaming, please look after us for so long now. So that's kind of my thing on it.
I kind of agree. I mean, like, I actually was having another discussion with a player earlier today, and they're a pretty whaley account. So they were saying that, like, these season 4 ants that are now available to everyone are super powerful. They're able to, beat down even some of the paid ants. So I mean, the game is definitely morphing into a more fair and equitable differentiation between spenders and free to play
it's moving
players.
away from what you spend on specific items and moving back to the good old days of how well have you built your hill. No one cares whether you're 25 or not within X amount of time. How well did you build it? Because all of us were smashing quick build 25s back in the day because there was no substance. So I think now the items that you buy, yes, they give you a small improvement, but the upgrade to the season 4 ants and the synergy side of things now, it's bringing it closer together. So the gap is shrinking between pay to win and free to play on what the ant side of things are, but it's now going back to quality over quantity, which I think is a great move in the right direction for sure.
I
did
agree.
sneak Conic up on stage just so you all know because he had his hand up. So,
Hey, buddy.
what do you got for us, Conic?
Are you saying that there's no benefit for the devs over improving the smaller players? Is that what you said, GigaFox?
Not that there's no benefit, because there is, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You get better, you want to get better. But it's more a case of it isn't a direct lean towards pay to win, which I think is what the free to play have constantly had to deal with and constantly kept repeating over and over. But it's bringing the season ants to a stage where, if you spend enough time in game, if you are active, if you are, looking after your hill, you've got a chance now. You're not just frozen out because you can't afford the ant. So I think it's just bringing it closer. But yes, I hear what you're saying. It will be a self-fulfilling prophecy because once you start winning, you'll want to win some more. But yeah, I don't think it's specifically towards pay to win anymore. closing the gap. That's all I mean.
I mean, I don't think it was ever totally geared towards pay to win. I mean, my philosophy on this game, yes, pay to win does have advantages, and yes, you know, there are players out there that are like super duper strong, right? But it's also, I mean, like, the game has always focused on being a team effort, okay? And, you know, I've had conversation with some of the biggest whales in this game, and they all are of the opinion that they would rather see a active free-to-play player on their team that is participating in the battles that they're engaged in and supporting them and whatnot,
Absolutely.
than
100%.
see someone that, you know, like just has unlimited funds and is kind of lazy and shows up whenever they want to show up and whatever may be the case. So the game has always been, and I will yell this from the rooftops, necessary to have like-minded players. It's a team effort. There isn't a single whale out there that can handle you know, fighting 100 or 200 players on their own. It just, you know, it just depends on how active teams are and how dedicated they are towards the team-oriented goals. But
if you bring up the season level ants to be able to be more competitive, the free to play have then got, you know, less spend on resources. They can keep up a little bit more. So that it's bringing together the, you know, the activity being linked with better ants, giving the whole team, you know, less of a struggle against those pay to win. Whereas previously, if, you know, we'd have rocked up with our jack jumpers and whatever back in however long back, you know as well as I do, the guy that's going to win any battle on early servers was the guy that bought the wasp. You know, it has always been geared in their favor, and that is always the same in any game. But I think the switch to the ant side of things, the insects is always going to be the insects. And, you know, you'll always have the older, less good ones come through slowly, of course, as general activity reward. Honestly, most of us will fail a fight against good quality built hills that have got good season ants, regardless of what ants we've purchased.
yeah, and to be honest with you, I even think that it also helps the overall development of the game, and it even helps with players that do want to spend more. Okay, because because, like, you know, the thing is that you can build the best account in the game, right? You can build, you know, these massive, huge accounts and whatnot, but to that player, you know, if they're smashing through entire teams and whatever, you know, it gets boring, right? Like those players want challenges as well, and so this is definitely a move in the right direction, in my opinion. That, like, you know, they'll gain more challenging events, which will keep them more engaged in the game. So
Conic, you've been super polite, buddy. I'm really sorry we kind of like went off over that, but tell me what you were actually thinking, my friend. Is it similar to what we were saying, or do you have another way that they're going to benefit?
I think it's from a business point of view, it's stacking on layers. So what you're saying is like quite an add-on layer. I do think one thing that you might be a little bit probably not suggesting is the possibility of converting free-to-plays into also a semi-pay-to-win or a casual pay-to-win as well. If you look at it from that point of view, so for example, like the insect planning, they suddenly jumped so quickly to the next generation, right? So they're like, what is it, 2 generations? Almost 2 generations away, which is not that hard. And also, Gladiator Mantis, Rainbow Scarab, Paratrines is still a competitive insect if you look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
So it would like suggest you know, just pay a little bit more. You know what I mean? Just get that, and then you'll be right up there with the pay to win. And then also, if you look at the others, bring them to be a little bit of an addict. I know it's a very strong term, but it kind of like
We are.
gives them that little taste.
But I think that's the layer I was thinking that I was saying that they're adding is once you start improving, you then want to keep getting better. So yeah, 100% agree. You're right. That's the extra layer where they're hoping to gain later on down the line. Totally.
Well, and I will agree 100% with Connick's thinking on this, because here's the thing. Like in these type of games, you're always going to have the players that have the unlimited funds that can max out or maybe not max out, because there's always upgrading the game to appeal. But like you said, this increase to 70, we discussed it earlier in the stage that they increased the stage the cells to have a 70 max. To be brutally honest with you, it probably is only going to affect 2-3 players in this entire game that are anywhere close to getting towards that 70 level, right? But the whole point behind it is that, you have a handful of players that are able to, quite honestly, probably spent millions in this game, or at least $1 million, right, on their accounts. But that is far from the bread and butter, so to say, for the devs. And so anytime they make these changes where, you can make it to where people can be more relevant with a little bit less spending, they're going to most likely jump on that. And that helps the game continue making improvements, continue making changes, making it more interesting for players. So I personally think it's a move in the right direction for all parties. Right?
Everybody, right the way through. Yeah, absolutely.
This is not a us as players versus the devs type of scenario, right? Both have to work hand in hand with each other in order to make it so that the game continues and we continue to enjoy it, and the devs continue to make money off of it, because if the money does dry up, the game dries up, right? And so I think overall, all these improvements that I've been seeing have been phenomenal on the devs' parts. Like
Agreed.
Both from looking at it as a business standpoint for them and looking at it as a,
like the longevity,
entertainment value for their customers, right? Like, whether you're a free-to-play player or whether you're 100% free-to-play player or you're the biggest spender in this game, we are customers of Star Union and Ants Underground because we're playing their product. So there has to be give and take both ways. I think so.
Yeah, I think we're recognizing it as well, aren't we? All of these world suggestions coming through about exchanging old items, about helping. That I think it's important we are actually recognizing them, because it's easy to find another thing to complain about without having the 2 or 3 updates to balance out, that one thing that you can complain about. So what we do here, I think, is stunning to make sure everybody does keep that confidence alive that you are being listened to. We all are being listened to. So, and it's a gradual process, but everything is being added in a way that the game can improve slowly and in the right direction. So I see nothing being ignored at the minute, and I think it's a really, really great time at the minute. So,
oh yeah, I agree 100%. To be honest with you, I would say in the last 6 months, the suggestions that have been screamed from the rooftops over the last year or two, right, are all coming to fruition right now. So I really do, who knows? It could have been one person on the dev team that looked a little bit closer and can we make these changes and can we, so it makes it very important that players in general continue to make suggestions, especially on our Discord here, because, a lot of those suggestions
they're not ignored. Yeah, they're not ignored. And
Gus Gambino was saying the last 5 updates have been amazing. I completely agree with that. They've all been things that people have been talking about
for a while.
And quickly too, sometimes like Surreal Wetland was pretty immediately the next, round of it changed.
Yeah, and I think we all remember the Vast Jungle kind of delays and muck arounds, don't we? When that wasn't ideal on the beta. So yeah, it's a quick fix. But Soul, maybe what you're saying is right. There may have been a change in the dev team somewhere that's kind of given a new approach, because the last 6 months, like Jake's just said, these updates have been coming through thick and fast. Yes, new content, but also they all relate back to world suggestions. They've all actually been relevant.
Exactly. And so I love to see this, to be honest with you. And I'll be brutally honest with you. Part of the reason why you guys have not seen me on stage was, like, real life happens. I've slowed down playing the game and left leadership of the alliance that I was in to join a different team, to not have those responsibilities and stuff. And it all correlated to like getting to be a little bit boring, right? But with new updates, they have succeeded in dragging me into it and really being excited about the game again. So I do think that there's more to come down the road, and I think it's going to be pretty phenomenal compared to the trajectory the game was going over the last year. I would say before these last 6 months have really brought a lot of nice content to it and nice features. And the biggest thing is this really all started a few months ago with the major update where they're bringing in these newer servers. Like you're able to grow at a faster rate in a newer server than some of the older servers that we play in are, which I think is a huge improvement to the game. Because I mean, dude, I'm in a level 300 server range, and we're facing a level over 1,000 server team. So it's it's fun. It's fun time. It is a fun time to play this game, no matter what server range you're in.
Oh my god, the new people have it I just started an account in server like 1407 yesterday or the day before. I bought a brown rogue for 99 cents.
You can get the brown rogue and the crimson fragger, I think.
Yeah, it was 100 a copy when I bought it. I put like $1,200 into my main account for the brown rogue and 99 cents per copy in the 1400 levels. Not only that, so many just really, really cool features. They're put like actually, instead of the brown rogue,
wasn't it eggs back then? You had to hatch kind of like 100 eggs to get to it or something crazy at the time. You had to buy a shed of eggs, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. So now you get the Crimson Pearl for doing that.
Oh damn.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like these improvements are phenomenal because those players that are, they're going to be able to catch up at a much faster rate, and it's cool because it brings a nice population into those servers, and those players, there's always a learning curve, right? So if those players actually peak out and players that have been playing this game for longer and whatever, and they're gonna love it and be able to grow their accounts much faster than we were able to. But at the same token, it also, like, I don't know, my opinion might be a little, skewed, but I'm at the point playing this game for season events, right? It's like going back to server is kind of just a chill and wait for me, like maybe build up a little bit or get a little bit of relaxation in before the next intense season event. So like I will always be playing this game for the season events. Okay.
I think Nim or Jake said something about that a couple of weeks back. Maybe we should have something. No, I think it's when the Frilled Lizard came out. One of you guys picked up on the fact that, that there needs to be a server specific event for filling that kind of mental thing that you lose out of season, something that's just on server for those kind of 3 weeks, because it is dull when you're out of season. So
but the nice thing is if these players in these newer servers catch up faster, right now, you're now you have the ability to face stronger, more competitive opponents that might be in newer servers. I mean, dude, there's
help you more.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it is cool. I like the trajectory that the game's going right now. I love the fact that, like, you know, these teams that are in, you know, 1,000, 1,100, you know, they can compete against teams that are in server 18. I mean, it's crazy, and it's a great thing because, you know, you get to meet all these newer players, you get to interact with them. The only thing that I would like to see happen at some point is and they're doing it little by little, where they increase the CSC ranges. You know, if that happens
last week,
it would be very, very beneficial, and I think that's going to come. I really do. Like, based on how they're doing it, I think it will come at a faster rate than we've seen it.
Too. I think that's part of the logic of the expanding of the groups as well. So then you get a bigger jump when that does come eventually. That's kind of what I thought the logic of the bigger groups and less groups were. So you can actually just jump further within group now. So
I was going to say, before we have to end stage, because we've gone over, and I appreciate everyone sticking around, but server would be more fun for me if I had free teleports, because I would fight a whole lot more when it's server versus server if I could go around annoying people's gathering nodes and hills without having, because you had to save those teleports for season. So get me free teleports on server, and I will make it a whole lot more entertaining.
They don't even have to give free teleports. What would work also is, like, maybe more teleports available in that credits store or
something.
Just because an ability to grab more teleports would be, you know, beneficial, like from one of the stores, right? And who knows, that might be an item that comes in
maybe
more often in the. So we'll see.
Yeah, sorry, Ned. Sorry for dragging that on, guys. I am sorry.
Oh gosh,
really
no,
late.
and we were a little bit late. You missed our technical difficulty at the beginning of stage, so I anticipated us going over, and the discussion, I think, was well worth listening to. But I am going to dial it back in because we've gone about 20 minutes over, unless there's anything of importance that we haven't covered that we should still cover. If not, I want to remind everyone to post their in-game IDs in the ID channel. Please, if you have suggestions or topics you'd like Stage to cover, you can post those in our Stage Topics channel, as well as checking out the World Suggestion channels, because if you can thumbs up or star up or like those ones, they get more attention, and that helps the community. What else did I miss? Oh, and I will post when our video is up and running from this stage, so that if you want to share with your friends what we discussed, that will be up. As well as, I always make a shout out for Charmaine and the recruitment team, that there is always amazing opportunities to join staff. There are, if stage is not your forte, or if it is, but there's a ton of other amazing opportunities to join the staff team and add to the overall experience for the community. And now I will pass it on to anyone else.
Well, I'm just going to say, if you want to hear Soul say cutie again, then you can go back to the YouTube. And,
you can take back to dinner and call me that all you like.
You know, go ahead and mark the time of stage, and you'll be able to hear it twice during this.
Well, in all honesty, I think, like, I was very much enjoying the male voices on stage, and I figure we should do like a stage bedtime story.
Oh, we're down for that.
We definitely want to thank all of you guys for joining us and participating in the stage, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.